We say, go find somebody who's going to love you, who's going to treat you right, that you can start a family with, that you can get married to, all these things. And it's usually, hey, don't go out there and don't bring no babies home. Like, you tell your kids not to bring babies home. Like, we're telling them the challenges of this, but when it becomes our world, our situation, it's different. It's like, but you told your son not to date you.
Right.
You told your son not to date you. You're the woman you're protecting him from. Now, great, you're a single mom and you're doing it by yourself, and so many of our women have done it. And so then there's men like my stepdad, is who I consider my father. He stepped up. He also had a child of his own. He stepped up and helped raise me. What up, what up, what up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. It's your boy Ferg, joined my co-host Buff and Rozzy. Fella, what it do? It's on you, Rye.
Yo, what up, everybody? Where do we start? We're still at war. Just want to always throw that out there, remind everybody. That's a war that's not a war, but we're warring. They're given combat pay, and they actually authorize combat patches for the military for this non-war. So that's definitely a first there, where you get a combat patch or overseas deployment patch. Huh?
I'm not against that.
You're not against the combat patch for the war that's not a war?
Because I think about the soldiers. I don't care about the politics. When you get down to if they're in danger, if they're mobilizing and being away from their families for some dumb stuff, then you don't care about the politics. You don't care that people are dying in this non-war. People are being injured in this non-war. Like, oh, you really weren't in a war? I was in imminent danger.
Literally shot down. I literally was shot down,
Yeah,
and we have a pilot right now that's behind enemy lines that's being searched for. Right? Like, I get it. What I'm saying is, like you said, the politics aside, but there's rules to these things. Like, if that's the case, then they can just be like, oh, we're gonna give combat patches for anything, right? Like, whatever we want there. Like, those should be based on an actual war and operation that is combat operations. But
semantics.
I get it. I mean, I get it. I understand, but it's the funny part about it is that they're saying it's not a war, but then they're doing all the things that you do in war. Like, you don't do this when you're doing just regular combat operations, right?
Yeah, because it's a war.
Yeah, because it's a war.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Semantics, because I can imagine them not labeling Operation Enduring Freedom as a war, and everything you went through at Operation Iraqi Freedom. Like, all it takes is a couple of hand strokes of a pen, a couple of votes. Your life is no less in danger. Your PTSD is no less real. Your family doesn't suffer. Like, oh, well, he was in that war, so the kids sleep easily at night.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it, but again, I'm one of those folks. I think we need to Congress needs to go ahead and vote to formally make it a war, so that because I think the other part about it is the troops are getting screwed because they're moving money from normal operations to fund this war. Usually the biggest thing with a War Powers Act or a war resolution is it comes with war funding. They won't give funding for this, and so what's happening is they're pulling from your reservist AT, they're pulling from training, they're pulling from retention. Nobody's getting bonuses anymore. Like, they're pulling from all these other places to fund the war because you don't have a formal like resolution from Congress. Congress owns the purse, and so that other, I think there was $50 billion that or $500 billion that the administration asked for there, that would come with a War Powers Act, right? When they do a resolution, when they say, yes, we're going to go to war, they're going to come with funding for that. I think that's the part that's kind of really pissing me off. It's being we're being screwed from normal operations of the military. We're making ourselves less safe because we're reallocating money. We're moving troops from places they need to be. We can't go out and recruit like we need to maintain everything else that we're doing in the world. So it's a sad situation that we're in with that. And then when you look at Iran is winning the public perception war, right? Like the media war is being completely won by Iran. Like the memes, the videos that they're making, even when it comes down to like Donald Trump and the Department of War Crimes actually bombed a a bridge, right? Civilian infrastructure. And Iran came out and condemned it and said, they're committing war crimes. Like the perception is very, very much on Iran's side right now because of how the administration is running the war. So, and I call them the Department of War Crimes. That's hilarious, but actually, people in the Marines, active duty Marines, that's what they're starting to call the Department of Defense now is Department of War Crimes. So we can, trademark that if we want to on there. But that's all I really got, man.
I don't want to move on from this because it's a hot topic. I hear you, and under normal circumstances, I would agree with you. I agree with everything that Iran is winning the war, public opinion, and all this stuff. Labeling it as a war is not going to change anything. I think labeling as a war is just going to give your commander in chief more power, if that's such thing. Like he's going to feel vindicated
It gives
now.
him way
Like
more. It gives him way more leeway. It
yeah,
does.
so
We label it
it's
a war. He can put ground troops on, and public opinion won't be against him at that point,
no, I
right?
think public opinion's still there, but I think you it's almost like you don't cave in. It's like we and I hate to say it, like we got to take these slaps on the wrist. We got to take it. Yeah, we got to take it on the chin. Like, hey, we're for the most part because he's our leader, we're wrong on a lot of these things, and so it's let's not try to save face, And it's very I don't think I've ever, since I've been around, thought about, how many people are sympathetic to our people we're at war with. You know, Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, go get them. Afghanistan, go get them. Even a Gulf War, I didn't know what was going on, but let's go get them. This is kind of like leave them people alone. Like I don't know where this is gonna go. And I'm fearful that people are going to try to save face based off the problems that your fearless leader has created. That's just going to embolden and empower him more. What you do the crime, you pay to do the time, whatever they say. And so,
Yeah, it's hilarious for the Star Wars nerds out there, right? It's a trade embargo has launched an international war,
yeah,
and so that's exactly how Senator Palpatine became Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars. And so if you go back and you watch Episode 1 of Star Wars, we're living it right now. This is exactly what's happening out
we're living
there.
a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Most great nations, even recently. If you look at like Spain and England in
hmm
recent times in the last 100 or so years, we're following a very similar path on this world domination being overextended and all that stuff. And I'm very fearful of what the future holds for this great nation.
yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
done.
Speaking of a great nation, though, we did launch Artemis II, and so they're going to the moon, being piloted by a black man with all the credentials. So yes, he does have all the credentials to be able to do it. And so, I'm just loving the pictures that they're showing, and like sticking it to the flat earthers out there. Like once again, we have confirmed that the Earth is round. And so, the pictures are beautiful, though, man. I mean, Artemis II is doing this thing. Really, really proud of them. Glad for NASA, even though Donald Trump's new budget cuts NASA funding, everything, basically everything except for the military. That's why he said that we don't have money for child care. We can't do that. That should be the states. All we have money for is wars. And so his budget shows that when he just presented it. So I am hoping Congress laughs at that budget that he gave and then passes a semi-regular budget. I mean, Republicans are still gonna screw it up, but at least not what he did, at least. So, but that's all I got, man. I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes on there. But shout out to Artemis too, man.
I'm looking at these pictures; they are incredible. First off, we talked about this maybe a year or so ago, but I think it's finally been enacted into law. If you are a 14-year-old in the state of Florida, you cannot have social media. I know I've heard that's one of those policies that don't necessarily go down political lines. Like I've seen, people on the left and right applaud it or criticize it. So I don't know. I don't feel too strongly about it. I mean, 14-year-olds probably don't need to be on social media. I don't see why I would fight so hard for it, but I'm willing to hit the other side. You guys are talking about the war, and you all have been in the military. I have not. Um, so I need to ask this. Is it normal? Like, are we just paying more attention to it because Trump is president? But is it normal to fire well-respected top generals during I know some people call it a war, some people say we're at war. Is it normal to fire generals in the middle of a war, or do we believe these generals have been telling the Secretary of Defense, hey, this is a dumbass plan, or we shouldn't be there, and they won't follow directions? So
option 2.
It's not normal to fire generals.
Period.
Okay.
Full stop.
Okay.
Okay. Full stop. Like
peace,
it's just
wartime.
No.
Okay. All right. Got you.
Wartime.
Listen, I admit what I don't know. I don't know. So I just wanted to just see. I'm is this normal?
There's ways. There's forced retirements, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and retire. Like, things have happened. Hey, you got some scandal. You were, smashing the E4s, right? That type of thing. Yes, you're gonna get fired for that. But normally it's, after 23 years, I'm retiring, blah, 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 that type of thing. It's not you are fired as of today, you're gone. It's I'm retiring. I'm going to do a transition over the next 6 months or over the next 3 months. I blah, 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 blah. That's normally what happens there. So even if somebody's doing a bad job, you'll normally see that transition out. They'll give them, because they did, especially for generals, you're talking 28, 30 years, 35 years in the military. They've done their time, and you want to give them some semblance of just respect, right? As they walk out of the door, unless it was something that was egregious, right? Like I said, sexual assault, something like that. Other than that, usually they just protect their ability to go out and get another job and that type of thing. And then, like, even to the point where he fired the chaplain. Like, how is the chaplain doing a bad job, right? Like, other than you being black,
right.
Like the main chaplain of the army, you're gonna fire them. Like, I don't see how they're doing a bad job. Like, it's very hard for a chaplain to do a bad job, and so it's to the point where, and I could see where the Pentagon and Hegseth did an Easter service, but he did a Protestant Easter service at the Pentagon and didn't do a Catholic Good Friday service for the Catholics. So it's to the point where they're literally like pushing out other religions and not supporting other religions inside of the Pentagon, inside of the army.
Don't underestimate a chaplain's prayer. Sometimes these chaplains can say some slick stuff in the prayer that may be going against what the administration stands for. And he probably, hey, you got to get up out of here.
Yeah, but that's even then.
But is that a bad job, right?
Yeah,
it's not a bad job. No,
like chaplain. I hope the chaplain was speaking out against all the atrocities that Donald Trump and his administration. Like, that's what I would expect from the chaplain of the United States Army or any, branch, or any clergy member. The Pope, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
talking about
it's
keeping your moral compass, and like that's what chaplains do. Keep your moral compass, do the right thing, make sure you're at peace and everything. Like chaplains, I've been prayed for on the way out to a mission before, right? And exactly what you're saying. It's like think about what you're doing, make sure that you can sleep at night after, blah 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 blah
yeah.
blah. Like that's what chaplains do.
Yeah, I remember the chaplain and the combat distress team. Like
Hmm.
they have a purpose. I was like, okay, really, but it's every once in a while you need some. Even if you're not overly religious, it's just you just sometimes you need somebody who can bring you peace of mind and can give you some guidance. And
Ferg said something uh, during your opening statement, Riser. He was like, "You said I don't care about the politics. I'm worried about the actual troops, the soldiers." And I just wonder, as I see some of the comments I hear, the comments I see on the internet and social media, like I just want to make sure, and maybe some people want to do this, but it seems like there are a lot of people in this country that are towing the line of rooting for Iran versus us, versus just making the administration, wanting the administration to look stupid. And I just wonder, where is that line, and how do you guys feel, as like, if you guys were still active in the military and you were deployed, like you have to do what the commander in chief says. So not all of those guys want to be there, but they signed up to, follow orders. How would you feel about an unpopular, unjust product, and you got your own citizens kind of, I don't know, it just seems like sometimes we're almost rooting for Iran, like we're kind of cheering for them versus, yeah, you may be against the administration, but like Ferg said, at the end of the day, those are people. They're not the politics. They're not the decision makers. Where y'all fall, without this turning into a question, where y'all fall on that, man? Have y'all seen similar sentiment on the internet?
Yeah, Fur, you want to go?
um, I think it's mixed reviews. I mean, I think the average military serviceman person just wants to be home with their family, be safe. They don't care about the politics, and a lot of times they get it. They get it. It's they're asking the same question. Why are
Yeah,
we here?
yeah,
Why are we why are we at war? I could die tomorrow because of something that makes no sense. I don't believe I think they get it. Yeah, it sucks that they're rooting for him or potentially rooting for him, but I think they get it because it's just kinda like you said, it's an unpopular war. It's an unpopular situation. When there's people who are loyalists and are saying, "Hey, I'm going to defend freedom," if you ask the average service member, why are they there or why are they on alert? They're like, I don't know. They're just as knowledgeable as us. They have the same, things. They're seeing the same things we're seeing, hearing the same things we're hearing, and they're like, I don't know. And I get it. And I think that's kind of part of you got to think about Vietnam. Like it's there were people there that didn't want to be there. Their whole goal is just to get back home safely. They don't care about the politics. They don't care what you're saying. As a matter of fact, they're probably saying be louder so we can get out of this. Honestly, if when
Yeah,
I think about it, I think about, the people I knew that went to Vietnam and when they come back and they join the movement, they
yeah.
become
That's a good point.
anti-war. This isn't as bad because we don't have ground troops over there. Well, as many ground troops over there. But if this goes out into a full scale war, then there's ground troops. And we put ground troops on, out there, this becomes a whole nother conversation. We're really talking about the potential beginnings of World War III. Like that's when China and Russia and everybody could possibly get involved. Especially
yeah.
we try to
Or
go back and
not
try to
even
take the
not
Strait
even
of
get
Hormuz,
involved.
like
What
not
they do is
involved, like
they open up other war fronts, right? Russia gets more emboldened to go push harder into Ukraine or go into other countries, right? China's going to take Taiwan. So what happens is because we get bogged down into now we're in, with Iran, we don't have the ability to protect the rest of the world. We can't project force in the rest of the world. And so it's not necessarily World War III as in Axis versus allies. it's World War III and everybody's going to just go and do their own thing because we're focused over here in Iran. We can't really focus on other stuff there. So it's World War where everybody in the world is at war somewhere because of it. And so that's the other part about the destabilization that's happening there. But real quick about like your I love what you said about the guys in Vietnam coming back and kind of being anti-war. Guys were there. We had people even in Iraq like, why are we here? In Afghanistan, why are we here? This is stupid, right? So I think the military is the exact same as the United States, right? There's going to be folks in there that's like rah rah rah. Let's go kill them. Let's put troops on the ground. Your barber, right, or the owner of the shop fired, right? I support boots on the ground. There's guys in the military like that, and there's guys in the military that's like, this makes no sense. This is stupid. I'm gonna do my job. I'm just here so I can go home, right? Like that's it. I'm really trying to protect myself. But for everybody, the people that's out there saying, rooting for Iran, it's one of those things that you might be friends with a bully, but sometimes when your bully friend picks on somebody and they punch them back in the face, you be like, all right, little man, I see you. You know what I'm saying? You might just be like that with like even your homeboy be like, hey, you deserve that one, my boy. Like you shouldn't have been picking on that little dude, right? Like that I think that's what it is, and that's what's happening with the folks that's rooting for Iran. It's not that like I don't support America, but it's just like shouldn't have been fucking with that dude, right? Like that's what I feel.
My final point on this is, and I know a lot of people already feel this way, so I'm not saying anything prophetic or anything, but the timing of this war, when you look at how hot the whole release the Epstein files movement was going, and all of a sudden we go pick a fight with a country because we have intel that they were going to attack Israel, and then once they did that, they were going to attack us, and we get all these different excuses and reasons why we're there. And then while the war that we're in is so unpopular, he gives this press conference on it, and then the very next day he fires the Secretary of Homeland Security. I mean, no. Well, he did fire her, but the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Department of Justice.
Yeah. Pam Bondi. Yep.
And it's like, we're just getting further and further away from the Epstein files. And I can't help but think that is part of the main goal. I'm not even sure if he cares whether we win or lose this war as much as we move on from Epstein. And there are reports that he felt like she handled that all wrong, and she didn't go after his enemies strong enough, like the Mark Kellys and the Adam Schiffs and the people that came after him.
Exactly what it is.
And now she's gone. So,
but
like I said,
she actually indicted him.
That's a popular sentiment already, but I just wanted to put it out there even more.
But even if
this
it's
war is
not
a distraction.
Even if it's not, the fact that you have a large majority of the population believing that, meaning that there's no faith in the administration. The approval rating is at an all-time low. The economy's in the shitter.
Gas is high.
The Epstein files, we don't know what's going to happen with that because Bondi, now he's going to probably put somebody in there that's just going to really
her
make
replacement
him
has
his former personal lawyer. It's his former personal lawyer.
But he's interim, from my understanding. So I don't know if he's going to get the position.
Well, he has
fully.
to say they have to say interim because that's a position that has to get confirmed.
I heard he was looking at somebody else too, but who knows?
But yeah, the people that he's looking at putting in have said
they're all the same.
They 100% are not prosecuting anybody from the Epstein files. Like they've even said it out loud. So to your point, Buff, I definitely 100% think that's part of it. I don't know. I don't know if it was as much a distraction as it was. He thought it was going to be as easy as Venezuela. He thought it was going to be just go bomb, kill the head, and that's it. We're good. And when Iran started bombing back and they closed the Strait of Hormuz and everything, and he's like, oh shit, what do we do? And they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a plan for what the retaliation would look like. They didn't have a plan for getting everybody out of the countries. It's the administration. So Hegseth, it's him, it's the
Oh, yeah, I forgot
Rubio
after
from
that.
Secretary of State. It's because when we go to war, when we plan for a war, and that's one of the reasons why when you go to war, you have to go tell Congress, you have to tell Congress the whole plan. And Congress is going to ask things like that. Okay, so what about our, ambassadors and the folks from the Department of State? How are they going to be getting out? Bahrain, our folks in Bahrain, are we going to get them out? They said that they had less than 20 minutes to pack bags and get out when they when they heard that Iran was going to be retaliated. Like, people came back from the Department of State with like backpacks. That was the whole thing, that like entire families, right? Because you got to think, when these folks go over there, these ambassadors and stuff go over there, they don't just go by themselves. They take their whole families. So now I got to pack up my wife, my 2 kids, my husband, and we all got to get out of there, got to get on a plane, and got to get back. And they were like, oh yeah, and on top of that, we don't have military transport for you guys. You guys have to take public transportation and figure it out yourself. Like, that's the lack of planning that they had when they did this. And that's what Congress would have forced before they said, yeah, you can do it.
Y'all bringing up old shit. Let's get into the important stuff. The ballroom. Let's get another 150 million. What does he has? 120 million?
Yeah, he wants another 150 million for it. But a federal judge has blocked it and said that they have to stop. I don't know if he's going to listen to him, but they have said that he has to stop. Trump was taking a bunch of L's from the courts this week and last week. That came out.
I mean, he went to court. So he actually
for birthright citizenship, and so
it's like
everything that's coming out of that is signaling that the Supreme Court is going to support birthright citizenship. They're going to strike down that executive order. He lost on the ballroom there. What else? There was one other big one that came out last week. I'll think about it, but he took some L's over the last couple of weeks in the courts,
and he's not stopping. He wants, needs, wins. And I don't know how long this is going to carry over, because we are coming up. November is going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, I'm so ready. I think the Democrats have a chance to take back the Senate at this point. I mean, that's a hot take. It's a stretch, but they have a slim chance to take back the Senate.
That's if.
They're taking back the House regardless.
That's if.
That always depends on, I haven't even looked yet, but that always depends on how many Republicans are up and how many Dems are up. But I guess at this point, it's possible.
That's if and only if we have an election.
We'll have one.
I think we'll have one. Now, 2028 is when you need to. That's the one we need to worry about.
2026 is what's going to set up 2028, because he has to have the people in power in 2026 to make sure the shit that he wants to happen in 2028 could go down.
That's why you signed that executive order talking about mail-in ballots. And so he saw the SAVE Act is pretty much dead. That's not going to get out of the Senate, which we said that wasn't. But so he did his executive order to say that, you can't have mail-in ballots. And now he did get a win, or potentially a win in the Supreme Court. They were arguing about mail-in ballots being received after election days, or being postmarked after election, or on election day and received after. That's one that the Supreme Court kind of upheld. So that's a little bit of it.
He uses mail-in ballots, by the way.
He does. So, it's not about security or anything else. It's about they're trying to limit as much as they can.
Yes.
Even this
the
thought of the SAVE Act, right? Like, it's stupid, because we already confirmed that people are citizens when they register to vote. So there's no reason that you need to prove citizenship at the poll.
The people we have caught cheating to vote have been on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's her name? Tina Peters in Colorado. Like, the people we have caught have been the ones that are trying to vote for him more than once.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually what it is, right? The loudest opponents of something is usually the people that are doing it. Christy Noam and her husband. So
hey, she going through it right now, man. Let her be.
For the listeners that don't know, Christy Noam, what was she? The
Oh,
Homeland
Chrissy no?
Security.
Homeland, yeah,
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, she was Homeland Secretary.
Man,
Her husband
she was just out
was
here
just outed as being
snapping pics
across.
for the gram.
Yeah.
Christy Nome just wanted to look hot and sexy in her little vest, her little ice vest, snapping pics for the gram, man. That's all she was doing. She knew what her husband was up to.
Bovino was actually running everything. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, even with that, man, so for the listeners out there that don't know, her husband was outed as being cross dressing and dressing up in drag and taking pictures and being on Grinder and all that stuff.
I don't
So
know if cross-dressing is still politically correct, Razzie.
Giuliani somewhere like, what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? Shit. And for y'all that don't know, Giuliani cross-dressed many times.
yep.
Yeah, we've been very political, I guess, so I'll keep it. What are your thoughts on TSA? I know we talked about it several times with Trump really trying to privatize TSA. I don't even say not. What are your thoughts? I'm very interested to see how this goes. There's different takes on it. I'm still. I don't know how I feel as of yet. I don't want people to lose their jobs.
I think the damage has been done though. If you look at this was part of Project 2025 to privatize TSA. Like how many of those people are gonna stay on long term? Like even if they're back working now, I'm sure they're looking for other work.
Yeah,
And then the agency is gonna be short.
I guess unless they have contracts themselves, like they have their hand in the cookie jar, which I'm pretty sure they do. There's some back pay and all that stuff, and some. I'm trying to see what's in it for the creators of Project 2025. What power did they gain by?
Two things. Two things. One is they shrink the size of government. That's their biggest thing. They don't want governments to have to fund this, right? So that's less taxes you have to pay so that you don't have to fund TSA. And so what happens is that's a smaller tax that they have, and then that cost gets pushed to the individual traveler because what'll happen is each individual airport will kind of do a
Okay.
contract for security. So now you have on the private side, because they like to privatize everything. So on the private side, you get contracts and you get money there. That money is going to go to airports. Airports are going to charge the airlines. Airlines are going to charge the individual customer. So your flights are going to be more expensive. There'll be taxes or whatever they want to call it on there. They'll add fees on there to support that. And so that's what it is. It's everybody isn't paying for TSA. You aren't splitting that bill across every person in the United States. You're splitting that bill across people who fly. So like you fly every week, you're going to end up paying more for TSA or security than me or Buff who fly, a few times a year, right? The people who never fly at all, that's no taxes for them, right? They don't have to worry about having to pay taxes to pay for TSA for people to travel that they don't ever get on a plane. So that's the difference that Republicans and conservatives really want, right? Is you pay for the things you do versus splitting the bill amongst everybody. That's their thought process on it. But what ends up happening is it makes it more expensive, makes it more expensive for those individual people. You see some lost revenue. People are like, now I don't want to travel. It doesn't make more sense for me to drive now versus fly, right? And so you find those trade offs, but really it's about privatization. They just want to privatize everything so that they can make a little bit of money off of it. So because a lot of times those conservatives are people who do invest in everything else. So you see that a lot of times. The more money you make, the more conservative or more right you start leaning.
Yeah, so that's good to know because I saw like the some of the stuff you were talking about. I was already aware of it, but I always think there is a deeper scheme to say. Like, is
It's
there
money.
something?
It's money. That's the scheme. It's always money.
Okay, I'm like, are they gonna be able to control who's going in and out of the country? Are they gonna be stopping people out there? I didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah, no. I mean, because there's countries that have privatized
Canada
airport
does.
security. Canada does. Like it's not something that's just like so outside of the realm. It's definitely possible, and that's one that I could see a very much smaller TSA, right? Where hey, I'm going in, I'm checking, I'm making sure I'm more of a like a watchdog from the administration, right? Same thing Department of Education kind of is, right? They don't go into every school or whatever, but they say, hey, here's the kind of requirements. Here's what you got to have. I'm going to inspect every once in a while. You got to prove to me that you have enough security and, that you are checking and blah, 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 blah. So it's possible. It's a way. It's one that I'm not even like super against us doing. If we wanted to do that, man, I mean, private security on airplanes, and they have private security a lot of times on like bus routes and stuff like that, like bus stations and things like that. Don't have TSA, I don't think. So, it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is I don't know if the quality of security is going to be because you're privatizing,
It's
and
not consistent. That's
yeah,
that's your problem, the consistency of it. Yep.
Don't ignore the racial component. It's I don't know if it's predominantly black, but it has a large percentage of black employees at
that's because you're
TSA,
flying
yeah,
to
TSA
black
is
airports, bro.
very, yeah, it's very
what
heavy. I want to say,
not just that though, bro. It's a lot of us there.
Go to Wisconsin.
Well,
yeah,
federal government in general, which is one of the reasons why I think they kind of
try to
detest.
shrink it. Yep,
Yeah, because
yep.
like in this area that I'm in, like I don't know if you guys know, but Prince George's County that surrounds Washington, D.C., one of the richest predominantly black counties in the country. And it's because there are a lot of federal government employees in this area. So they don't like that. They don't want to see y'all come up.
Yeah, I saw the statistics on that when they were talking about TSA. I think has like a 23%
Yeah.
African American, and then another like 20% Hispanic population. So when you talk about that, it's very heavily minority versus what your normal makeup of minorities are, and they see that. They definitely see that.
All right, I mean, we've been talking for a while, so
Right,
let's
right.
go. I mean, it's been a very, very political heavy episode. I don't know which way we want to go.
What you got, Rozzy?
Uh,
Or Ferg? One of
we
y'all.
can go. We can go. Very much to back to relationships. Let's talk that. Kam Newton. Kam Newton came out and he loves his hot takes. And one of his hot takes on his show was that women's value is lowered when they have kids. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but I see what he's coming from. So I wanted you guys kind of to expound your opinions on, do women lose value, relationship value, or dateability? I think that's like the use of value, I think throws a lot of people. But dateability, let's just talk about dateability. Does a woman having kids lower her chances or lower her dateability with most guys?
Let's keep value in there. Well, at least for me, I'm gonna keep value in there. Uh Once again, a nice little gender war question, by the way. But again, it depends on what that woman wants. And it's very simple. It's not something to get charged up or get angry about. It's what you want. If you have a child, okay, and you have all of these filters of what type of man you want, okay, whatever type of man you want, as far as his salary, his looks, his height, whatever like that, you have to take that man and all the men that fit in that category and say to yourself, are they going to want me? What percentage of them is going to want me? And if you want a man that's 6 feet, that makes 125,000, his teeth are straight and white, he's in shape, and a lot of times, believe it or not, and this just isn't on women, but women that have kids or men that have kids still, ironically, don't want someone else that has kids.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those women with kids want a man that does not have any children. So if you fall in that category, that man also has no kids. Is he going to want you? And when you do the math, and if a high percentage of those men also want a woman that doesn't have kids or whatever like that, then yes, your value has been lowered. Your value has been lowered because what you want doesn't want you back percentage wise. So if you're willing to deal with that, then go for it. But you have to look at the numbers and your chances of finding the type of man that you want once you have all these different parameters, which you are entitled to. I'm not saying, hell, I'm not even saying if you have kids, if you want a man that doesn't have kids, okay, that's what you want. But they have to want you back. And that's what it all comes down.
Okay. There's a couple of things, and I agree with you, Buff, on so much of that. So I don't like the word value just because nobody's going to listen if we keep talking value.
Okay.
If we're really here to have a conversation that people possibly can take anything from, I'm not saying what I say or what you say or Rise is going to say is right or wrong. It's just a different perspective. And so I'm going to choose to use
What did you use
datability.
instead, Rob?
Datability.
Datability.
Okay. Yeah.
I talk about your datability resume, right? And so, first of all, and Z and I have talked about this several times because we live in this. In my experience, a lot of women live in the possibility realm versus the probability realm. Because like, well, I know a chick, she had 6 kids and da 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 with 6 different baby dads, and she still married a high value 6'4", you said 6 foot. He made $500,000. Yeah, there is a possibility that can happen. So we're not I'm not telling any woman out there, like you said, to go after your dream or whoever you want. But the probability of that is lowered. Just like we know being short or black, the probability of us dating certain women, like there might not be white women who do not want to date black men. So the probability of me marrying a white woman are lower than me marrying a black woman because black women are seeking black men. Probability of women that like guys who are taller, that's what it is. And we have to understand that. But at the same time, you said something where does he want you? I think he can still want you. The question is, does he want you more than the other person? If there are 10 women in the room and you pull out your datability resume and you have, our black women, and now this question wasn't about black women, but I'm talking about our black women on this one, are some of the most educated people out there. There's so many great things that our black women have going on. So, because you got to remember, you're not the only one. You throw that out there all the time. We make more money. We're doing other. Exactly. So there are 10 women who have very similar criteria, education-wise, earning-wise, whatever those things are. And then you start looking at things that men are seeking. It's okay. Some men want to know about your history and your history. So body count. Were you in these streets? How many kids you have? How many baby daddies you have? And it could be you got 3 kids. Maybe he's not opposed to kids, but this other young lady has 2. Or this other one has 1. When you stack up against them, how are you stacking up against the competition? I know as a man, when I was seeking my wife, there was competition out there for me. I had to be the person that she chose outside of every other man who wanted her attention. And women, I think, don't think that sometimes. It's like, you're not the only person. And that might not be the deciding factor, but there could be, what else is a thing that, just like getting a job, I call it a resume. When you apply for a job, you're hoping that there are good candidates for that position. And you have to beat out the good candidate. I can have a doctorate, I could be a physician, a surgeon, all this stuff, but I'm trying to get a job as a mechanic. That criteria has nothing to do with the job I'm applying for. So are you applying for the right jobs? Are you applying for something that the people that are seeking your skill set or the things you bring to the table? So that is something that, if you want to say lowers your value, it is something on your datability resume that somebody has to seek and had to take into account. Are they willing to look past that, or is that a big enough factor where they're going to go with a different candidate? Because all you are is, we're all candidates in a dating pool.
We also hear in these type of questions how people don't want to lower their standards, which I think falls in the same categories like value. And I would just say my advice is there are a lot of good men that are willing, as Rozzy posed a question, to date a woman that has a kid or 2. A lot of great men that make decent salary, I guess what I would say too, because you asked about, I think you asked specifically about women. Yeah, you asked about women.
It's funny you talk about that. I preferred dating a woman with kids.
Yeah,
but
so
like
because
your
so
situation.
we're out there, and so like if a woman's parameters is you got to be 6 feet, and the guy that you meet and vibing with has all the other stuff, the salary and all that stuff, but he happens to be 5'7". I'm not saying lower your standards, but maybe the universe is telling you to adjust a little bit.
It's trade-offs.
But
Yeah,
I think we've gotten so accustomed to, we talk about it. Men are expected to lower their standards.
They are.
Like we are expected to have lower standards when we're seeking somebody. You know, we're not looking for the CEO of a company. You know, we could take
she doesn't have to make 6 figures for us, right?
You know, a woman who
women, I think women would say that we don't do it on looks. We base ours on their looks.
Partially. Now we're attracted to looks.
And that we don't lower out. Like they'll say, I'll date a guy with a beer belly before a man dates an overweight woman. So
I think it's timing.
I think they're wrong.
I think there's guys who I think about all these beautiful women who are out here single today. Some by choice, right? But guys are out there taking that girl that we never, you know, when you look past in high school, right? It's not all about looks. It's other things. It's the character. It's the nurturing. It's those other things that person brings to the table. But when it comes to certain things, we're able to overlook them. Put it so, I don't think we think about it as lowering our standards. I think that's a different thing. I don't think I ever like, man, I think I'm gonna just lower my standards and start dating short chicks. Like, I've never heard a guy talk about lowering his standards. You know, man, it's maybe like maybe I'm looking at something. Maybe I'm looking for something different, but we don't consider lowering our standards because she has a child or she doesn't make a certain amount of money or she's a certain height or she's built a certain. We don't consider lowering our standards. We just, you know, like, hey, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, we vibe or not. I think
yeah.
it's because I've dated every type of chick, big girls, small girls, tall girls, short girls. Like I've dated all those different types because for me it's about vibing, right? It's like for me, probably the conversation is probably more important than the physical attributes. Like I have to be generally attracted to you, right? You can't be and for me, it's not about size. It's about how you carry it, right? It's are you coming off? Are you presenting in like well groomed hygiene, right? Like there's bigger girls that still look really good, and then there's big girls that she's like, oh, she looks sloppy, right? And so there's very different things, and so it's not about the size, it's not about the weight, it's not about any of that. I think a lot of times women say that guys are all about the physical and everything. A lot of times that's just whether we approach you or not. Right. And I hate to use numbers, right? But a 8, 9, 10 guy probably isn't approaching a 3, 4 girl from a looks perspective. That doesn't mean that 3, 4 girl can't get that 8, 9, 10 guy. It's just that he probably isn't going to approach her. Right. But if y'all are in a situation where, you know, you see it all the time in the movies and everything. Oh, we're in a situation where we're working together. We're on a project together or something like that. And I find out this motherfucker is dope as fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, she's cool. She's smart. She's funny. Everything else. She just doesn't look as cute as some of the other girls. So I probably would have never actually approached her. But like talking to her, I dig her. Right. And so I think that's what another part about it is that a lot of women think that, oh, it's about that. You might not get approached as much, but that doesn't mean that you can't actually get a really good guy there. I play 2K every once in a while, and you know, one of the big things that everybody talk about, oh, my 99 overall player, right? Like, and so I think that's what it is. Women look at one attribute on their just looks or their education level or whatever. I know educated women that I can't have a conversation with because they only know their education and what they do on a day-to-day basis, and that's it. And we can't have a full-on conversation. We can't just vibe out. We can't just chill out and over dinner and talk. And then there's women that don't have any education that we really can vibe out. We can talk. They're politically connected. They understand, right? They're about the culture, blah, 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 blah. And we can have a really good conversation. So I really don't think, yes, having kids lower your value. But back to the question, yes, because that is an attribute in your overall score. And so the more kids you have, the lower that line item is on your overall score. That doesn't mean you might having a kid might take you
For
from a
most men.
99 for most men. I'm just saying, just
Yeah.
if we want to,
Because they're gonna hold the
just make
possibilities.
it possible. You put it into a large language model. You put it into a model. It's gonna say that, hey, one kid brings you from a 99 overall to a 97. Two kids might bring you down to a 93. Right, four kids might bring you down to a 85, and that's as high as you can get in your overall score because you got those kids. Like, unfortunately, that's just how it goes. Now it might be different from different guys, right? Like I said, I prefer a woman that had kids because of my situation there. So that's the other part about it, is every situation is a little different. But I think women have to understand that it's going to limit some of the guys that you can talk to.
I like to use this example, and you've heard me say this multiple times. I'm raising my son to be the type guy that I would want my daughter to date, and I'm raising my daughter to be type woman that I want my son to date. And so, as parents, and we sit and look at this, at no point am I going to tell my son, son, I can't wait. When you start dating, go out and find a woman who has 3 kids and this and this. I'm not saying she can't be a good person, but that is
Mhm.
never has never been the ideal situation. Nobody tells their kids to go out there and find the chick with a bunch of body count, or find the dude who has all the chicks and does this and treats you like it's when we look at our personal situation, and we know we want to work around it. But when we have that, when the slate is clean, we say the people that we love the most, our kids, to go out into the world, we have this picture for them. And very rarely, maybe it is, we don't picture a certain type person. We don't tell our sons to date this type one. We don't tell our daughters to date this type man. We say, go find someone who's going to love you, who's going to treat you right, that you can start a family with, that you can get married to, all these things. And it's usually, hey, don't go out there and don't bring no babies home. Like, you tell your kids not to bring babies home. Like, we're telling them the challenges of this, but when it becomes our world, our situation, it's different. It's like, but you told your son not to date you.
Right.
You told your son not to date you. You're the woman you're protecting him from. Now, great, you're a single mom and you're doing it by yourself, and so many of our women have done it. And so then there's men like my stepdad, is who I consider my father. He stepped up. He also had a child of his own. He stepped up and helped raise me. There's room for that, right? There is room for that. And there's a lot of our families and a lot of the things, when we peel back the onion, we look at, the real world, how many of our grandmothers were the other lady and all this stuff. Like, there's a real situation. But when we look at it ideally, you know, we have to recognize that's not what we want. That's not what we think is best. I always think about when we talk about, man, I wish we can go back in the day when men were men and stuff like that. But then at the same time, we talk about your granddad had a family on the other side of town, right? But sometimes you don't realize that you're the family on the other side of town, right? Is that the perfect situation? No, but it got us here, and your your genes, your kids are gonna, benefit from your granddad being a goddamn a Rolling Stone. That's the world we live in. But at the same time, ideally, nobody goes out and tells their son to go find a woman. When you get out of high school, go find a woman with 3 kids, 3 different baby daddies, and make that the love of your life.
I think it's important to have preferences and deal breakers. And so, like, the guy that so-called doesn't want a woman that has kids, it could be because the last woman he dated, her son was bad and she barely disciplined, and he's like, I don't want to put up with that. And so in his mind, he doesn't want that. Then he meets you, and it goes completely different. He's like, you know what? I can still vibe with this. So you can have preferences, and it can kind of change when you meet that individual person. Like as a woman, you may want someone that, like we keep using height, that is a certain height, but then you meet one of the three brothers or someone like the three brothers, because we're all taken at our height, and you're like, you know what? He's still attracted to me. Like, he still does it for me. When he walks in, I kind of shift in my seat a little bit. You know what I mean? So you can have preferences versus deal breakers. And like your deal breakers can be a man that don't believe in going to the doctor or going to the dentist or has bad hygiene. You know what I mean? Like, that could be your deal breaker. And I think once you realize those two things, because life will life. Like Ferg say, the woman that's raising her son not to date a woman like her, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? But he grows up and he sees, you know what? Some women just get in a situation where they did everything right, but the universe still put them in this situation. Like, they may have a kid, but they were married, and hell, something happened to their husband, or she found out something. She's just in this
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
she's
she's in that situation.
Doesn't make you a bad person.
And I think
there's things that happen. Like, hey, you were married.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. Does that put you in a different, and for some people, I don't want to they could be hard line in the sand. I don't want anybody with kids. It could be someone, she was married for 5 years, 10 years, has a child, and that didn't work out. But in my mind, that's not a knock on her. She waited to get married to have whatever that is, so there's not an exact, there's no absolutes to that situation. I look at me, I really didn't like younger people. I didn't like dating anybody that was too much younger than me. A year, maybe 2 years tops, right? I've dated older women when I was young, like when you're young, you're 25, she's 27 or, whatever. But my wife, there's almost a 7-year age gap between us. When I met her, my preference, because I thought I knew what I wanted, was somebody who was my age, somebody who was more established. Everything that she had on paper, or I put on paper in my mind, young, she was a neo, I wasn't with, because the people I thought I wanted had those things, successful and career oriented, going back to working on their, going to grad school, all these things. And then my wife came along and introduced me to a world of things that, traits that a person could have that I didn't even know existed, or that I wanted. And I wouldn't change that for the world. So I'm not saying that, ladies, that if you have kids or anything, that you cannot get a man, but you have to respect the fact that he has preferences as well. Like you said, we talk about height. I watched a video yesterday where it was about 3 or 4 ladies on a podcast talking about, the question was, should height matter? And they were like, yes, 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 yes. But you know what's so crazy? These short dudes be having they shit together. Like, they made short dudes sound like they were the best thing in the world. But just because he wasn't 6 foot, one of the chicks was 5 foot, 4'11".
Yeah, 5 foot 4'11" or something like that. She was like, I still want 6 foot guys.
And it's like, it's just because we're the same height. No, we're not. If you're 5 foot and you put on 3-inch heels, 5-inch heels, I'm still taller than you. Like, it's you're putting this situation, and are you wearing heels every day? It's one of those things where,
is it okay to just be taller than me? Right? Like
exactly. And it's just,
Jen was a half inch taller than me, and when she put on heels, she was way taller than me. Like, it just was what it was.
But she found her blessing because she didn't like, and I wouldn't be surprised if she grew up saying she wanted a tall dude. Right? It wasn't like, man, I can't wait till I meet this short dude with glasses. That's gonna be my baby daddy. Like, she did not grow up at the age of 12 or whenever you met her, Razi, saying that that was gonna happen. But I think when you keep an open mind, and of course you're gonna have your preferences. That is. I didn't like sushi until I tried sushi. Right? We all have our preferences in life on almost everything. Dating is not, it's just, so if I don't like big girls, it's okay. But then if a big girl sweeps you off your feet, it's like, man, this chick is dope. If you don't like short dudes, there's a woman that's like, I don't want to date anybody with kids. I don't want to date a dude that doesn't have kids. I don't want to, like, whatever that is, it's okay. You can draw a line in the sand.
Ladies with kids, think about, it might not be that he doesn't want a woman with kids, it may be that he doesn't want to deal with how you interact with your son versus how you interact with him. Like, but if you talked about like, if it's I have to argue with you constantly about them, if you're not gonna let me semi-parent them or help with them at all and question everything I do, I can't be with them. Like it gets hard. It really gets hard. So there's baggage. There's a lot of things that you have to think about when as a guy when you're going in to be that. If your kid is your king and you that whole like I can't stand that dynamic of like they're almost your semi boyfriend type thing. If I walk in and it's that, I'm like, I'm out. I'm out because I'm not dealing with
It's
this.
just yeah, but I think that's anything. I mean, that's a perfect example. It's not necessarily you, it's the situation around it. It's
Mhm.
not a judgment on you as a person or like, "Oh, you had a kid and you didn't get married, you're a bad person." It's like, I don't know, dating's tough, marriage is tough. Marriage with kids who are your own is tough, right? We know these things. And then we add another dynamic when it's like, okay, these are your kids under these circumstances, and then they're not. It's like I don't want to, or I've seen, and maybe it's me. Maybe because the house I was brought up and there was dysfunction, and my mom had these guys. This is not my situation. These guys, and this is your new stepdaddy, and then he wasn't Mr. Joe's your new stepdad, and maybe I just don't want to see that. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's your his frail male ego that doesn't want to deal with it because of some childhood trauma. It's a legit it's legit because we have to deal with the things that women go through. Women should have to accept the same thing that men go through. So I know women that want to date kids with kids. I mean, men with kids. I know women that don't want to date a man that doesn't make enough money. You know, so why is that different?
Yep.
Question, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
But to all my women raising kids on their own, continue doing what you're doing and just realize that you are good enough. You are everything you need to be. It's just for certain people, they're just not going to be, you're not their cup of tea. And that's okay. That's okay. It's
You
not a
dodged
knock
that
on
bullet,
men.
truthfully. Yeah, I mean, you probably dodged the bullet anyway. Because those men
Ah,
that are no, I'll flat out like if that guy is saying I don't want a woman with kids, you probably don't want him around your kids, right? Like that's what I say
see, I
about
think I
that.
think you're villainizing him just for having a preference.
I'm not
Like
villainizing
you
him. What I'm
are.
saying is
Are
Like
you
like
you're
saying
dodging a bullet. No, it's
if
just like y'all weren't compatible. That's not
if that's
necessarily
his
dodging.
deal
yeah,
Like you
that's
breaker?
what
made
I
it seem
mean. But
like,
I'm not
oh,
saying he's a bad guy.
he
I'm
was the
saying
problem. He's not the
no, I'm
problem.
not saying he's a problem. What I'm saying is
Dodging
you
a bullet is a
probably don't
problem.
want him in that situation because he probably doesn't want to be in that situation.
He
Like
told you
for a
he
guy
doesn't,
that
but that's
said
not. He's not dodging
exactly,
a bullet.
exactly. That is dodging a bullet because
No, it's not dodging a
it
bullet,
is. It
man. That's
is.
just you.
It
You
might
over
be a
here.
stray. It might not be
You
anything.
backing
I'm
your
not saying
bag
he's
I
a
don't
up.
know if
bad
that's
guy.
dodging a bullet, bro.
It's just we're not compatible.
That's kind of
It's
like
just like
dodging a
it's
bullet
just
is
like,
having an underlying issue that comes to the surface once you're in a relationship. If he's telling you on the front end, "Oh, I don't want a woman with kids," then that probably is the full stop, and they won't
yeah,
even get
yeah. Like he's
involved.
like, you know what? I want all my kids to have the same parents. I remember growing up in my house. That was my thing. I
I
grew up.
get it. What I'm saying
None of my
is, but
siblings have none of me. I don't have any full blood with any of my siblings, and I have a lot of siblings,
mhm.
right? And I wanted my kids to not experience that. Now, the thing about it, the beauty of it was never an issue, but the dynamics were always, kind of weird. And so in this situation, and maybe that's just me. Am I a bad guy for wanting my kids to all my kids to have the same parents? You're dodging a bullet because that is my preference?
I'm what I'm saying is not dodging the bullet from the guy, dodging the bullet from a bad relationship. Like the thing about it is, like you said, relationships are hard and any little thing can be super difficult or cause kinks in that. And for a guy that says, I don't want to date a woman with kids, and he's put that as like not necessarily his preference, like it's like a hard stop type thing where it's like, I'm not dating you because of that. Like he's not going to be engaged as much with that kid, right? Like if you force your way in, if you be like, I can change them, we can make this work, blah, 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 you're setting yourself up for a heartache and headache in that relationship. I'm not saying you dodged the bullet from the guy. I'm saying you dodged the bullet from a bad relationship and that just probably wasn't going to work. And you were going to spend 6 months, 8 months, a year trying to make it work. And when ultimately it probably isn't because that situation, because your kid is very, very central to that relationship. And he's got to be able to navigate around that.
I think you've opened up a whole different portal of conversation around this question that we don't have time for.
Yeah, like, yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. Probably with, first of all, most relationships probably aren't going to work. Like I don't think sometimes we forget that most relationships don't work. Most relationships aren't meant to work. Right? You pick people off of looks, some random preference that is not grounded in logic. You're picking somebody off of a version of yourself that you want to be. You're this baller ass dude, and so the chicks you're attracting are chicks that are into money, but you really don't want to spend money like that for the rest of your life. Or you're this chick who wants to be super fancy or catering, and that's not who you really are. At a certain point, that's going to come to the surface, and it's not going to work. Think about it. I've only been in one relationship that worked, and that's this one. That's it. Think about it.
I push back against the dodge the bullet quote too, because that implies that one of the parties was
at fault,
toxic, or what I'm saying, in a wrong. And I think in this situation, there is no wrong party. He doesn't want someone that wants kids. She has a kid, so they're just not meant to be. So when you say dodge a bullet, it's kind of like he turned out to be, I don't know, super mean to the boy or whatever, the kid or whatever like that. So, but if that's not what you mean, but that's why I initially kind of pushed back.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think maybe you didn't waste time. Like you didn't waste your time because it was already, there were signs. There's a flag, red, yellow, whatever it is, that was already there. And it's a huge flag because he says he's telling you something that is one of the most important things in your life, that it is not something that he is interested in. And you choose to pursue. And like you said, and I've said, most relationships don't work anyway. And so you're going in with this big red flag waving like he don't really want to be a daddy. He don't want to be a daddy. He don't want to be daddy. And then it doesn't work. And he's like, I wasted my time with him. I should have never spent He wasted a year.
He didn't waste a year of your life. You wasted a year of your life, man.
You chose to.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. He ain't the bullet. You're the bullet. But sometimes we make bad decisions. We know, I used to be good at that. Like, look, hey, all I saw, it might not even been a red flag. It looked like a red flag. And I'm out. Like, that would happen. I'm out. I'm gone. Because I don't want to waste my time. Right. So let's go ahead and close it on out, fellas. Great show. We're probably going to. Who's going to be the most hated after this show?
Well,
probably me.
I did say keep value in there. So yeah. I might get some scopes.
Then Rising doubled down on it too.
I doubled down. I was like, yeah. I put value on it. It's like I said, 4 kids, you were 85 overall player score.
Oh yeah, Rising gave him a score and everything.
Okay, yeah, see.
Oh God. All right, let's close it on out, fellas.
All I got, man, I want to shout out the NFL. They actually are launching a professional flag football league, men's and women's, after the All-Star game where the U.S. Olympic flag football team whooped up on some of the professional football players, and they figured out that, it is a different game. It's very different there. Like, some of the stuff carries over, of course, right? Athleticism, being able to cut and everything, but they're very different games that you have to actually work at that game. And so the NFL saw that. It brings on kind of a 7-on-7 feel there. So I think flag is actually going to end up being a really good program. And I really do think that the women's flag football is probably going to take off a little bit faster than the men's flag football there. So I think that'll be another kind of women's sport that can be football adjacent for women to be able to go in and maybe make a little bit of money. I don't know if they're going to be making, WNBA money, but I think you could probably eke out a pretty good life if it catches off.
I think I'll be more
Hopefully, it
interested
ends
in
up
that.
on like ESPN 2 or 3 and not the Ocho, and we'll be good.
I think I'll be more interested in that though.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned it because I was thinking about. I'll let you Buff go, then we'll go. You got anything else?
No, that's it, man.
I
Well,
just
happy
want to.
Easter to everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Dang.
It was the day
All
that
right. Yeah,
the Easter
yeah.
Bunny
Happy
died
Easter.
for our sins and
Yeah. Yeah.
rose again.
I just want to ask, hey, Gino Ari Emma. I think that's how you pronounce your name. You all right, fam? You good? You all right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that dude blatantly
guys,
lied.
yeah, man, you seem a little upset, bro. You upset and wrong at the same time.
And
Hmm.
Yo,
lost.
oh, yeah, that too, and you lost. You look like a sore loser out here, big dog. I just want to see if you're all right, man. Listen, you win damn near all the time. You are a legend, but you lost. You lost. You lost. Oh
Hmm.
no, I don't. You lost. All right. So accept it. You need to apologize to Coach Staley too. You need to apologize to her and your players because as a leader, you're supposed to show them how to behave and act even in defeat. And I really, and I want to be careful in how I say this, but you really look like a big bitch.
I think
So
that's a politically correct way to say it.
so So it'd be nice if you, now that some time has passed, you come out and apologize. Because I saw the post-game press conference, you kind of doubled down and said, why should you apologize? Well, because you accused one of Coach Staley's players of ripping your player's jersey.
Which and
Okay.
what really happened?
She ripped her own jersey.
Okay.
Hmm.
What else was he upset about?
Dawn not shaking his hand.
But what really happened?
She shook his hand.
Okay.
she shook his hand. So,
We got it on video, sir.
yeah. Yeah. So like, just apologize, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's it, man. So you can look less of a big bitch. You still a legend. You are a legend. Ain't nobody taking that away from you, bro. Everybody has bad moments. Everybody has bad moments. This is yours. The only other thing I got, man, is I'm gonna keep saying this, fellas. Please go get checked up. I had my annual physical and waiting on those lab results and whatnot is like waiting on your final exam test scores. And, I would say good labs. It's two areas I need to work on that I'm on the cusp of it being from normal to high. So I'm going to work on that between now and my next physical. But you want to know these things, man. I want us to live. I want our brothers out here to be here for our sisters, our wives, our kids. Be here, bro. We need you here. We need healthy, strong black men. Go get checked. Go get checked. Other than that, man, make sure you subscribe. Three Brothers No Sense. YouTube, Inspire You on Air via Contentville, all podcast platforms. The weather is changing. ThreeBrothersNoSense.com. Get you some merch, t-shirts, whatever like that. Or you can get an early start on cold weather. Get you some hoodies or whatever. We got it all, man. So check us out, ThreeBrothersNoSense.com. And remember, tell 3 to 5 friends about us and have them subscribe as well.
Good for you, Buff, going to get checked out. Really good for you. Yeah. And, a lot of our listeners are around our age. Colonoscopies, fellas. Don't let anybody make it more than what it is, and which is a medical procedure. It is preventative. I always say, there's two options, colonoscopy or like a Cologuard. I'm always, as somebody who worked in oncology, seeing the results of people waiting or delaying. Colon cancer is taking people out. It's the largest cancer. It's the most prevalent cancer out there, and it's hitting people younger and younger. And you just want to get it done. And because once that procedure, because the thing about it, if they find something, then they can eliminate it right then and there. Versus taking the test, them finding something, and then you still have to do it. But so good for you, Buff. Once again, happy birthday to Sky, turning 11, A honor roll, TJ doing a thing. We just put him in track, summer track, and it's just funny watching him out there run. And Risey, when you were talking about flag football, I was having this conversation at track practice with another parent. TJ's interested in football, and I have a lot. We've talked about this before. I have fears around him playing contact just because of CTE and the breeding athletes and stuff. And so I'm more interested in flag football, and I'm hoping flag football becomes more popular and popular enough where it's not necessarily the gateway. That's my fear. It's a gateway to contact
Right.
football, full
Right.
contact. Much as a kid, I wanted to grow up and have a son and have him play football and do all this stuff. As a parent, I'm thinking I always want to do what's best for my kids, and it's real in these streets.
Yeah. What I'll say with that is go check out your local football program and see what they're doing in practice there. Because the thing about it is, like, if a coach is teaching them good fundamentals, a lot of times they don't have to worry about that as much. And so,
Boy,
because go
you
ahead.
need to check out Texas football.
I know,
It's
I
different
understand
here,
Texas
boy.
football. I understand Texas
I
football.
know bros who are breeding their sons to be killers that are coaching. And it's like, my son can learn the fundamentals, but when he get cracked back by Buff's son, who's been in the weight room since he was 4, that is different. It's those things you can't control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I
That's
just
the
know,
fear.
like, Ollie's catching up, right? There are kids that have been playing for 3-4 years, and Ollie's trying to catch up on the contact piece of it. And it's hard, right? There was a learning curve last year for that. So you got to weigh those out, right? Like,
Yeah,
whether you get him in there so he can learn the fundamentals, and so he's not getting cracked back when he doesn't know how to take a hit, right? Or
you never
he's
seen
still
a good
scared.
crackback, sir.
So
Crackback ain't nothing a good crackback ain't nothing you can do about it, bro. It's certain things that are beyond. You got to think about these professionals, and you see these freak accident injuries, and they're freak accidents.
yeah.
But it's people who are super aggressive and things, and it's just, you can't protect yourself. What happens when you can't protect yourself, when you're being stood up and somebody flies? And these are kids. But that's a whole nother conversation. So
yeah. Sure.
Let's go ahead and close it out. 3 Brothers No Sense. 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.
Peace.